While I was working on my last video, I skimmed through the book of The Hobbit once again, and I came across the Enchanted River that's mentioned in Mirkwood. And I think it's something that's really overlooked, and it would be quite enjoyable to speculate on. So the following will be a brief history of this river and its geography, and then, together, we will unravel its mysteries. So the first time we hear about this river is when Thorin and company are about to leave Beorn's hut to start their journey through the dark forest of Mirkwood. Beorn tells them, "There is one stream there, I know, black and strong, which crosses the path, that you should neither drink of nor bathe in. For I have heard that it carries enchantment, and a dim great drowsiness and forgetfulness." When they eventually come across this river, Bomber, the fattest dwarf, falls inside it, and this causes him to fall asleep for 4 days, and it also gives him amnesia, as he forgets everything that had happened to them ever since they left Bilbo's hobbit hole. Now this is an extremely brief summary, and there are many other prominent parts and points in this story concerning this river, but these will play a role in solving its mystery, and therefore I thought it's better to just mention them later instead of repeating myself. So the river's origin seems to start at the mountains of Mirkwood, and it then flowed northward to meet the Forest River. Here, it seems, its magic ended, or was diluted, as the dwarfs later used this river to escape the Elven realm without any harmful effects. The river's width was said to be less than 12 yards, as Bilbo estimates it to be so. Now the magic and enchantment in it has several possible origins. Some say that it originated from the magic of the forest itself. Some believe it was the work of the necromancer in Dol Guldur, while others think it was the magic of the Mirkwood elves, perhaps even that of Thranduil himself. Now out of all of these, I believe almost exclusively in the Mirkwood elf theory, and now we'll explore the reasons behind this. So first, let's once again look at its location. So from this map, we see that it closed off part of the southwestern borders of the Elven halls in Mirkwood. Considering this, it does offer protection to the elves of Mirkwood, as it makes it less likely that enemies could enter their realm through this area. Instead, they just have to worry about their northern and southern borders. Now Dol Guldur, the necromancer's realm, is located around the southernmost part of Mirkwood, and so enchanting this lake would seem quite counterproductive as a strategy, for what would it keep out? If the necromancer wanted to separate the elves from him, it would have made much more sense to enchant part of the forest river instead, as this would create a barrier between him and them, though again they were miles apart. Now let's consider the effect the river has: forgetfulness and sleepiness. They don't seem to be very harmful effects, and it seems that slight contact with the water would also be seemingly harmless. We know this because when the dwarfs are trying to cross the river, they see a boat located near the opposite shore, and they decide to throw a rope at it to attempt to pull it in. Their first throw fails, and the rope falls in the water. When they pull it back, Bilbo tells them, "I don't suppose the magic is strong enough to hurt you if you just touch a bit of wet rope." And this strongly suggests that the river was for defensive purposes. Its intent wasn't to injure others. Why would Sauron, or as he was known before, the Necromancer, put such an effect on the river? Why not make it poisonous or corrupting to the touch? On the other hand, let's say some of the woodmen that lived in Mirkwood, or some travelers, or even orcs and goblins were about to trespass into the Elven realm by crossing this river. Wouldn't forgetfulness and sleepiness cause them to turn back and forget where they were going, or even why they were entering the Elven realm? And therefore, it would ensure that the elves remain safe. The exhaustion and sleepiness it caused might even dissuade invaders from fully crossing the river. Instead, again, they would turn back and perhaps rest on the shore. When Bomber falls into the river, he passes out for 4 days. And once he awakens, he says that he had wonderful dreams where he walked in a forested elven realm, and there was a great feast taking place, and the Woodland King sat nearby. Later, when the dwarfs entered the realm of the elves of Mirkwood, Bomber exclaims that it looks as if his dreams were coming true. So firstly, it would seem odd why any spell of the necromancer would give positive, wonderful dreams. And secondly, dwarfs don't have the gift of foresight. So why would Bomber dream of this elven realm, unless the river was linked to them in some way? Now the river is described as being black. Beorn tells us as much. And when Thorin and company reach it, we're told, and it was black, or looked it in the gloom. Now making the river black might seem odd for an elven enchantment, as it might be associated with corruption or altering nature. However, we're also told that it could perhaps have seemed black due to the gloom. And I think this is a lot more likely. My main justification behind this is that across the river there was a boat tied to the shore, and the boat is said to be a little black boat. Now if we assume the boat was made of wood and that the elves had made it, we know that in the surrounding area there were oak trees and beech trees especially. Now both these trees have a brown bark and their wood is light in color, so why would the boat appear black? I doubt it was dyed for some reason, and so I think that the gloom that was present there made it seem that the river and boat were black. There are a few more points that I'd like to make. So the boat we just mentioned suggests that the elves used to cross the river at times and they were familiar with it. However, before it, there was a bridge connecting the two sides of the river. When the dwarfs and Bilbo reached the river, we're told there had been a bridge of wood across, but it had rotted and fallen, leaving only the broken posts near the bank. I don't think the bridge was made by orcs or evil hands. It would seem quite fancy for them to craft posts for it. And so I think it was either made by the elves of Mirkwood or the men that lived in the woods. This is again my own speculation, but I feel it reflects that perhaps, before, the elven realm might have been more open and welcoming to foreign lands, but with time they grew distant and more secluded. The fact that the bridge is almost completely rotted and falling apart indicates that this might have occurred even hundreds of years before. And I think if we believe that elven magic was responsible for enchanting the river, it would be a bit pointless for them to enchant it and then build a bridge crossing it. And so I think that this enchantment was placed after the bridge had started to fall apart. After Thorin and company crossed the lake, we're told they became aware of the dim blowing of horns in the wood, and the sound as of dogs baying far off. Then they all fell silent, and as they sat, it seemed they could hear the noise of a great hunt by the north of the path, though they saw no sign of it. While reading this, I wondered if it was merely a coincidence, some random elven hunt, or if the elves were somehow alerted to the disturbance in the river, and had thus sent out a hunting party to find the intruders. But we can't really say for sure, though I thought I'd share this thought with you. This wraps up the video, friends, and I'd really like to hear what you think. Do you agree with my points that the elves were most likely to have enchanted it? Or do you believe in some other cause? This video is more of a discussion, I feel, because there are a lot of lines and connections being made. And so, if you think I missed anything that could reveal more or contradict something, drop a comment below. If you can, leave a like, cause it helps this channel immensely, and subscribe to join our fellowship today. I hope to see you all in my next video, where together we can once again explore the wonderful world and lore of Middle-earth.